Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to set up email marketing in your FlutterFlow application using Brevo. If this is something that sounds interesting to you, be sure to hit that like button and let's get directly into it. So for this demonstration, I'm going to be showing you live what I've already done on an application that is already existing. So if you don't know what Brevo is an email marketing platform and a CRM. You can check it out at brevo.com. It has a lot of functionalities that you can utilize and a very generous free plan that you can use and start developing your application. So you can see right here a lot of other features tied upon this free plan. So the first thing first, after creating your Brevo account, you want to make sure that you verify the email domain that you're going to be using, right? And you can do that by coming over here on the right here and you go to senders, domain and dedicated IPs. So you come here, you verify the domain, whichever URL that you're going to use is going to give you ability to just add like either C record or TXT records onto your domain provider. So for this, I've verified this domain called bolo.work. This is an example. And then you also need to set up your senders. So senders are basically the email addresses that you're going to be using to send out emails. So you need to also add that. After you verify your domain, any email address under this domain will automatically be verified and you can use as a sender. Right here I have a couple of that verified. And then the next thing is you want to make sure that you know the kind of emails that you're going to be sending out. For this example, I'm going to be demonstrating how we can create a new Brevo contact, right? How we can add a new Brevo contact so that we can set up automations using that contact, like automatic emails that will be triggered, and also how we can do rollout campaigns. You can roll out a campaign, maybe advertising a new feature that has been released and whatnot. So you're going to see how to do all of that. And if you stick around enough, I'm going to show you how you can send emails using dynamic templates. So you can create a template on Brevo and then you trigger sending an email from your FlutterFlow application using that template. Or you can use something like an HTML content, right? Let's say you are using a rich text editor. For example, I used to have a rich text editor on the marketplace. I'm still working on bringing that back. FlutterFlow took it down. So if you want to actually send HTML message, then there's also a possibility for you to just format that and send directly. And we're going to see how to do all of that from within FlutterFlow. If you come under contacts and you see a list, you can actually create list to group users, right? To group your contacts. So you can have, for example, here, this example, typically I have a couple of lists. Now the idea is you group users or your contacts in a list so that you know what action you want to take for that particular list. Let's take, for example, you are building an application that vendors can sell and buyers can buy whatsoever. So you may need to group like your users in different segments, right? That's why segment is down here, but your list can be like users that have actually created accounts on your application. So for me, for example, I have registered here, then I have survey, like people that are taking a particular survey. I can create another list depending on how I want to register that contact. Now segments are just granular way to do that. Like I mentioned, you can group them in segments, like, hey, this person is a user, is a buyer, this person is a seller, and whatnot. Anyways, that's the basics that you need to know here. And let's go right up to creating a contact. So the first thing, to be able to send things like email campaigns, which you can schedule, and campaigns are based on, say, a user list or whatever segments, but it's generally about users that you already have on your Brevo contact. You need to have that contact registered already. So the first step is, let's see how we are going to register a new user onto as a Brevo contact. To be able to perform this action externally, you need an API key, right? Brevo has a documentation for that, and that is available under here. If you click here and you see SMTP and API, you are going to see SMTP configuration that you can do and the API keys that you can create to actually use. So all you have to do is just create a new API key, and let me say demo video. Well, I already have something activated. I'm just creating this so that you see like how I actually do. Then you can copy that API key. This is what you need to do to use to be able to communicate or trigger Brevo from an external source. Now, if you open up the documentation, they have a list of API endpoints that you can use. And now for the first endpoint, we are looking for the endpoint to onboard our user, right? So contacts, to actually register a contact. So to create a contact, this is the endpoint that we need to use. And over here on FlutterFlow, it is ideal that you register a new contact or you onboard a contact when the user is immediately creating the account, right? So this is where you're going to tie that action or this API call. So let's see what the documentation says about creating a contact. So this is an example endpoint and payload on how to create a contact, right? So you need to pass all of these: the email, the external ID, the attributes like the F name, last name, countries. You have other properties that you can do: list ID, right, to specify which list you want that contact to be available under, like we have here, like I showed you under the contacts. So you can specify all of that parameters. But this is one key thing that you need to make sure you know. If you have plans of handling other attributes besides just name, email, or phone number, then you can head over to your contacts settings and create those attributes, right? For example, here I have WhatsApp, I have join us, which is going to be something like the role, user type, contact time zone, whatever thing. LinkedIn, you have all of these properties or attributes that you can create, and when you are using them, you use them like this under case, as you see here. So over to this documentation, it says that we can actually do all of this. So for my example, what I have here on FlutterFlow is I'm creating a contact into my registered list. So if I head over here to my Brevo API group, create contacts, you see this is the API definition that I have. I'm just posting and I'm requesting parameters like the email, the first name of the user, the last name, the phone, the user ID, and the role, which actually matches the attributes that I'm expecting to receive, at least here. I call it external ID, right? So over here, these are the parameters or the variables I've configured, and for the body, this is what it looks like. I'm tying my email to email, external ID, which matches this external ID attribute on my contact form. I'm tying it to the user ID that I received here, and then other attributes that I'm tracking, like first name is a user first name, last name, SMS, I'm taking the phone number, the user type, I'm using role, WhatsApp, I'm using the phone number, and then I specify the list ID, which is 10. The list ID that I have here, this one for registered, as you can see here, this is the ID of my list, 10. Anyways, if you want to learn more about the API call, you can read the Brevo documentation. It's detailed on how to do all of that. Now, after configuring my API call, remember, you need to do all the headers and whatnot. I made this example tool that can help you visualize your curl API code snippet to the way it should be on FlutterFlow. I've not published it yet. It's unlovable. If you guys are interested, I can make it public. It's actually free. It doesn't use any AI or anything. So all you have to do is just paste your curl code here, and then when you do paste, it automatically populates, and you can see it has all of this structure like how we should have it on FlutterFlow, right? Anyways, that's just an aside. Now over here on my application, when the user clicks on create an account, I actually perform all my creating account, all my validation and whatnot, authenticate the user, and then at the final end, before I navigate them, I also trigger this endpoint that creates a new contact on Brevo, right? So you have here, this is the API code I calls. It passes in the email as the email from the input field or the authenticated user, because I've already created the user up here, right? And then it passes in their first name from the input field, last name, whatnot, their user ID, because I've already authenticated the user. I also pass their document ID, right? The authenticated user document ID, and I do all of that. I'm not waiting for any response because, yeah, I don't need to do anything with the response, whether it goes or not. But ideally, if I supply all those fields correctly, it is going to create a new user under the registered list, and also add that user to my contact list. So that's why you can see how here I have about 35 contacts under this particular list. Now that is for how to do actually adding new contacts, right? Now let me show you how to set up automation. Ideally, when a user joins your application, you want to send them something like an email like, hey, welcome to my app, and then just give them directive on what to do, right? That is very easy to set up with Brevo too. And to do that, actually, I have here what we call campaigns. Before you do that, you actually need to set up a template, right? An email template. So you can head over to templates, and then you create a new template. You can use one of the templates that Brevo has. So you can say email template, and you create a template to customize it. It's a drag and drop interface. It's very easy to use. Now, after naming your template, you set your subject line, whatnot. You select the user, one of those verified users that I want to use as the mailer. Then you open the design, and you can actually start doing the design. Now, let me show you this example template that I have to welcome a user onto the app. And I said, I named it welcome to Bolo, right? If I open it, this is how it looks like. It should look like this, welcome to Bolo. And I'm using contact first name or default dear user. Therefore, if I'm sending an email to somebody and I don't have their first name, it will automatically populate their user. So this is the interface to actually edit the design. So as you can see, I can just drag new elements from the left here and bring, and this is just information about the application that I'm sending to users and a link to download the app if they don't have or whatnot. So here, this is a parameter that we are just sending, and this is available that Brevo gives us using this variable. So you can click here to add a variable, and then you attribute a variable to a contact. So all of these things that we've captured, we can use them here, right? So that's one beautiful thing that we can do. Now, after designing your template, you want to save the template, right? Or maybe you can send a test example and see how it actually looks like. To set up an automation, therefore, if a user joins your application, you want to automatically send them an email. You see down here, I don't have any other action that triggers to send them an email here on FlutterFlow. I don't have any other action. So what you want to do is automate that process back on Brevo so that it'll be much more easier for you. And for you to be able to automate that, you need to have that contact as you need to have that person as a contact. So I'll come here under automations, and it's very simple. Brevo allows you to listen for triggers and then perform an action. That's basically what it is, like every other tool. So you listen for when something happens, then this list of steps should take place. So you click on create an automation, and you can just start from scratch. You can use like something like welcome email to send a welcome message after a subscriber, and this is automatically going to import something, but I'm going to start from scratch here, the new editor, and my trigger is I'm going to say when a contact gets added to a particular list, which list. I'm going to say my registered list is inside here. When a contact just gets added to this list, then what do I want to do? I want to send an email, right? So I'm going to go like messages, send an email, and I'm going to do this. The email that I want to send is using one of the templates that I have. Select templates, this template, and I say welcome to Bolo, and I use this. That is all you need to do about that particular automation. So you have already automated sending welcome image when welcome emails when a user joins your application. Now, to actually make it very, very real, so you don't overwhelm the user with email, you can do something like you can wait for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatsoever thing, right? You can actually add that delay so the user goes through all your onboarding and whatnot before the email will be sent to them. So to actually add that delay, you can come above here, let me see, save, and then you can actually click here. Down here there's a delay rules, time delay, and you say, hey, let it delay for how long. You specify how long you want it to delay. So let me say 5 minutes. So when the user creates an account, and when the user creates an account on my application triggers to add them to this contact list, and when they get added to the contact list, you should wait for about 5 minutes before you send them the welcome email. So that is it for how to perform adding new contacts, setting up an automation, and then to roll out a campaign is very, very easy. Since you already have these templates that you can use here, you can just create a new campaign with one of these templates to send, or you can automate that again from within your app using the APIs, right? There is an API call to do that. I'm not going to dig deeply into that because that's something that you can just investigate using all the ideas that you're going to get from this video. So you can create an email campaign using all of these parameters, right? You configure the campaign and you set it out, or you send it out based on which users that you want to receive this thing. Again, if this looks so overwhelming, I'm going to subsequently release this tool to you guys, and you can just paste and copy and paste that cur command here, and when you click on paste, you should be able to get this example API call, how you should present it on your FlutterFlow editor. Anyways, now the next thing is I'm going to show you how to send emails with dynamic content using templates. So let's take, for example, back on Brevo, you have created a template, right, that you want to use as a normal transactional email that you'll be communicating with your users. So let's take, for example, you want to send simple email like this. Hey users, you have this thing going on, somebody has booked your service, or item purchased, whatever thing, just general notifications or means I want to be communicating your users. Now what you can do is, let's create a template, for example, a template for emailing, and let's use one of the existing templates that Brevo has. So let's select this simple. These are example templates that Brevo has that you can select and customize. So let's use this simple one, right? So let's take, for example, we want to populate this dear customer using the particular contact that we are sending that email from, and we need to make this message, right, for it to also be dynamic, like it should be gotten from the application that we are sending it from. And then maybe this action button, right, this action button, we want to actually make it to be stylized, like on some other places it can be like open booking or view item or maybe visit website or whatever thing. So we need to be able to configure all of those dynamically. So to do that, for contact customer, dear customer, so I'm going to just add this contact parameter, right? So I'm just going to do this, and I'll say contact attributes, let's say first name, for example. Default value, let me say user. If there is no first name, it should say dear user. Now, to actually replace this email, this is what Brevo says you do. You actually need to do something like this. So you do params, this is key, params dot, let's call it message, right? This is the message that you're actually sending to the user. And here, you'll be required to pass this message as a parameter when you are sending, when you are calling Brevo. So let me see. And then for the next one, I want to change this text to params dot button text, something like that. So we know that if we are sending this request, if we are calling this from FlutterFlow, we are supposed to pass message and this button text as the parameters. So it will automatically pre-filled on this email and it will be sent to the user. So let me save and quit. We have something looking as simple like this, no reply. And don't forget to activate the template, right? So we have created our templates that we want to pre-fill from our API call. Now over to the Brevo documentation, they have a way to actually call this. Let's say, for example, you come here under transactional emails and you say send a transactional email, right? This is the whole documentation that they have on how to do that. So you have means of creating a send a transactional email using a template versus send a transactional email using the HTML. So we are going to come to this. So we want to read, and this is it, send customized email template, use a customized email template. So all the documentation is simply telling you is create your template and whatnot. You can use HTML or what, you create your template and then you pass these parameters, how you need to pass them manually. So let's copy this example curl response, which has this, and the key thing here I need to note is this params that has been passed. So let's copy this example curl. So I'm going to copy this like this, I'll paste it here. So I need to format this, and our data, I don't know why they separated this thing, but yeah, anyways. So let's copy our data, this payload. I'm copying this and I'll paste it down here. Again, this is just to help me pass this API call correctly so that I know the structure. Like generally I know how to program reproduce this on FlutterFlow, but this is just a helper tool, right, that's going to help you see the structure of your API call. So if I pass this correctly, we should have our headers shown and the body should be shown too. So this is how our body needs to look like if you're actually passing this. Now if you read the documentation, this is if you want to send email to multiple people, right? So for us here, we need our parameter, we need the subject, the template ID here. Let me see, what was the ID of this our template? The ID is 11. The ID of this template is 11. If you look at the URL bar, this is it up here. The ID of this template is 11. So we need to replace that in our API call. So to do that, let's come here and replace this. And our call should look something like this. Template ID 11. You can customize this subject. So I'm going to leave this. Our sender, we can use no reply like we had. And parameters, our parameters is one message. The second one is I think what do we call it, button text or something. Yeah, button text. So these are the two parameters that we need to configure. Anyways, let me clean this up and then I'll come back and show you. So for here we just need only a single user, so I'm going to remove this and keep just a single user, and we don't need this additional parameter inside here. So let me clean this API call up and then I'll show you what we have. Alright, so I've cleaned it up. Now we have this, our header should have our API key, Brevo API key. We have the sender should be from this, our verified email. Then the name of that sender, the subject, this is a default subject line. So I can say test email notification, whatever thing. let's call it that. And then the template ID, it's template 11. You have a new activity for below whatsoever thing, and then the button text is open the app, and we are sending to, this is where we supply the user email. So right here we can replicate this API call on FlutterFlow. So if I come here on FlutterFlow, this is a typical example that I wanted to use, and my Brevo API call, this is we add an API call, let's say send email with template, and here the endpoint says it's this. Well, we are having the full API endpoint here, but we just need the last path. So we have something like this. This is the endpoint, smtp/email, and you can see all the headers that it says we need to use. All these headers, I already have them in my API group, so I don't need to do that anymore, right? I already have these headers in my API group. I'm going to show you that in a bit. And then for the body, this is the body. I'm just going to copy this entire body and replicate it here. So I'll copy this, and this method is post, which is clearly states here that is post, and all of that is generated automatically. So for the body, I'm going to paste the body as JSON, then I'll paste this, right? So this is an example email. So if I format this correctly, it should be fine, and I can add the API call. So back here on Brevo, my Brevo configuration, I already have, see these headers that it says we should put, all these headers that are in the documentation that we are required to have. I already have them in my API group, and I'm taking my API key from my, where is it, from my environmental variable that I've saved, right, so that I can use it securely. And that's basically the configuration that we need to do to send this email as a template. So what we can actually do is actually try testing this. So I'm going to replace this with actual real email, and a real email, so that I see what the user is going to get. And if I come here on my response and test, actually test, try sending the API call, we should have this success, right, 201. And if I check my email, I should have that new email that has just come in. So let me go back to inbox, and this is it here, right? You see, actually shows below notification everything that we test. I say test email notification and everything. And from our application, you see open app, this is the action button that we configured here, and then there Jaro, you have a new activity below, for example, that other whatsoever thing. So this is how you can send transactional emails using email templates, and it just depends on you, but that's just generally the idea. You can style your email anyhow you want to style it, and then you trigger it from within your application. Now let me show you the case where, say, you use a rich text editor. To do that, I already have the API call here, so that'll be easy, but the same concept remains the same. So let me save this. We have a simple thing, the send email, but for this case I have variables. Remember, here you may want to pass all of these parameters that we have in the body here as variables, like the email. I'm going to show you the example for this second one, that's why I do not demonstrate it here. So we have all these parameters, you may need to pass them as variables so that you configure them dynamically. So for this second one, to send an HTML email, I have this configuration that I've done, and this example template, let me show you, that I generated, right? This is using an actual email, an actual HTML code. So this is the code, and I know that I need to replace things like the name. So instead of hi there, I need to replace it like hello, say username or whatever thing. Now this is me trying to address the user directly, right? Again, if this is your HTML rich text editor, you can just type the image, automatically be formatted with HTML, and you can use that content and send. But for this case, I'm not using a rich text editor. I'm just showing a way that we can still replace all of this content, right? So hi there, then for my body, I have all of this, and my action button, whatever thing. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Now on my send email configuration, for the variables, I have the recipient name, I have the recipient email, I have the subject of the email that is going to be sent, and the HTML content. And this API call simply states that for you to send a simple transactional email or a transactional message, this is the API call that you need to make. Where is it? Let me scroll. Here, it has to look simple like this. The sender has to be one of your verified emails, and to whosoever person you are sending, or list of people that you want to send it to. Then you need the subject and you need the content. If I copy this and I bring over to our tool and I paste it here, paste, and I pass, right, we are going to have our body to simply look like this. So name, to, and subject and HTML content. So this is what I need to configure, and that is what I've done here on FlutterFlow. So back here on my body, I have all of this configuration. The email that I'm sending to is recipient name. The name is the email is recipient email. The name is a recipient name. The subject is a subject, and whatnot. Now the way I'm triggering that externally is I have this modal or this bottom sheet that you can use to compose a message that you want to send to a user directly. So you can type the subject, therefore what you want to send, and the content, the message I want to send. And when you click on this button to send email, what it actually does is it's actually going to call this API call. Now you may be wondering how I convert this text message that is being typed here to an actual HTML code. So this template that I generated here, that I showed you earlier, this template that I generated, everything that I've done here. Anyways, I did this with AI, so don't think it's something complex. And what I've done is I have this function, right? This custom function that composes email template. So it composes the email by using the name and the message I want to send, and it replaces the hi name, then the message I want to send, all of that, and it creates my HTML. So the email is always going to look the same, but the content is going to be dynamic. So I'm passing in this message inside this text and the name of the person. Since I already have the user that I want to email as maybe a user document or whatnot, I can use it. So if I click on email here, what happens is it sends the email. The recipient name is a display name of the parameter user, whatever thing, however you are getting your user name. The recipient email is the email of the user, and the subject is a subject that we typed here. And for the HTML contents, this is what I call my custom function, right? My custom function to compose the HTML email, and I pass in this display name and the message that the person has typed. When I send that, if it succeeds, then we show this snack bar. Let me demonstrate this also so that you see that it actually goes through. So under here, send email, let's respond and test. So this is an example HTML body message, and I'm sending to this email. So if I change the subject as HTML message, for example, like that, and I test the API call, we should have this success. And if I open that email, we should have it too. So let's go back. Right, as you see, this is it, Bolo, and the header is HTML message. Right here, I can click and you see this contents, right? Hi there, whatsoever. And this is just how you can design your email by yourself to send it. Now you can modify all of these things, all of these contents. That's one beautiful thing. Anyways, that's the contents I have for regarding the email messaging, and you can go ahead and further configure this in so many ways, right? For example, my use case is I can select a list of users or filter users, and when I click on this message, it opens that bottom sheet that I compose a message I want to send to those users or those list of users, and I can send the email message. I can even send them push notification, or I can send them in-app messaging. This is a whole configuration that is going here, but the main thing is to know how to tie your this thing to Brevo, back to Brevo, how to use templates, how to configure them, and how to make everything sit in place. Now, one beautiful thing about this customizing this thing with HTML manually is that you get to remove the Brevo branding, right? Brevo usually has a branding that they use on their emails, like when you're doing things like transactional email or their email marketing. They have this branding that they used to use. Let me see. For example, this is coming from that same account, and it was automated. Below here, you see all of this branding, right? So if you are customizing using HTML code, you can eliminate all of this, and then you message your users with a unique, consistent interface. Anyways, guys, that's what I have for customizing or performing email marketing with your FlutterFlow application. Hopefully this helps you. Be sure to check out the channel and let me know if you have any other questions. And yeah, if this is helpful to you, hit the subscribe button and let's keep going.